Morning, everybody. Welcome back. Today we are looking at a slightly bigger assignment than what you looked at yesterday. So you will have a work period tomorrow to focus in on that. As always, your content can be found by clicking this link or going to the content in the nav bar. So we're going to be reading from slides 10 to 25. And then on slides 17 to 23 are examples of what you're going to use in order to complete the assignment. So let's open the slides here. So if we go to slide 17, so you're going to start on slide 10, as the instruction said, for managing your money. Please read 11, 12, and all the way down to 17 on your own time. But budgeting examples on slide 17 and onwards is where we're going to use to help our friend Ping budget. So the budgeting process is really broken down into several steps. But number one, you need to assess your personal financial situation. So knowing the difference between needs, values, and life situation. So needs are not the same as wants. Needs are things like groceries. You need groceries. If you have a car, you need to buy gas and pay for insurance and maintenance and things like that. You need to set personal and financial goals. So a financial goal could be that you save $5,000 in 2 years, for example. A personal goal could be you limit your spending on extras, so like buying new shoes, going out to the movies, going out to dinner for $100 a month. Creating a budget for fixed and flexible expenses based on projected incomes. So fixed expenses are things that no matter what, you always have to pay. So for example, if you had your own apartment, a fixed expense would be rent. A fixed expense would be things like your utilities, so heat, hydro, gas, things like that. Flexible expenses are things that sometimes you might have to pay, sometimes you don't. So things like, your car needing an oil change, that's a flexible expense because it doesn't need that every single month. Another flexible expense would be going out for dinner with friends. Monitor current spendings, your saving and investing patterns, and keeping a record or log. Having a saving spreadsheet, I can speak on that personally, is super, super helpful. That way you have a visual and a physical thing to look at to see how you're spending. Investing definitely comes with practice and time and talking to like a financial advisor and making sure that you are keeping a record and log of where your money is going and how it's moving. Comparing your budget to what you have actually spent is huge, and noticing that, hey, if you're spending a lot one month, maybe you really need to crack down the next month in order to stay on budget. And reviewing your financial progress and revising your budget amount really goes with number 5. So maybe you had an emergency expense in October, which means your November budget would have to be revised to make sure you're staying on par to save. So looking at the budgeting examples, so Ping works part-time at a grocery store and as a lifeguard and swimming instructor. Her gross monthly income, so this is the total earnings for the month before deductions, so before taxes, union dues, things like that, from both jobs is approximately $2,000. Ping's minimum net monthly income, so net monthly income this is your take-home pay for the month. So this is your gross earnings for the month minus your deductions is $1,738. So really the money that Ping has to spend on things like rent, car, gas, bills is $1,738 and not that $2,000 amount because she has to pay those deductions. Some weeks she works extra hours by picking up some extra shifts. Awesome. Let's move into the next slide. On this slide and the following is Ping's planned budget and her actual cost for the month. So looking at income, this is all the money coming in from all sources that you can use to pay expenses, to save, or to invest. So we look here, and as we've read in the slide before, her total income is $1,738. Going down, expenses are the amount of money you pay for goods and services from your income. So if we blow this up, there we go. We have fixed expenses. So these are expenses that you've already promised to pay on specific dates and specific amounts. So she is hoping to, for fixed expense, she has $100 for housing. So her rent is $450. She has to pay $50 for hydro, has to pay $45 for water, $80 for cable and internet, $75 for cell phone or home phone. She has a $280 car payment, and her insurance is $158 a month. So she has to pay these regardless of her income. Flexible expenses, or sometimes they're also called variable expenses, are those which vary in amount or occur on an irregular basis, but they are still things you must do. So foods and meals. So she's looking at 163, 173. This is what she's budgeted. This is what she has spent. Maintenance, 220, parking tolls for 20, 98 for clothes, 70 for entertainment, personal items at 25, and others at $36. So discretionary expenses are like flexible expenses in that they vary in amount and or occur on an irregular basis, but they include things that are not mandatory to do. So things like concert tickets, dinners, and movies. So her total monthly amount to spend was $1,723. Doesn't look like she stayed on budget. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. So this month, Ping had some extra expenses. She wanted to put more money away for savings as she is saving for a down payment for a condo. She's trying to save 15% of her net income each month, but with her extra expenses this month, she was unable to save anything. She had extra car expenses as she needed new brakes and an oil change. She paid for her car maintenance bill on her credit card. She bought a new pair of shoes for working out that cost her $98. She also has to buy her mom, that should say also, that is a horrible spelling mistake. She also has to buy her mom a birthday gift. So using that information above, we're going to complete the Ping's budget assignment. So does Ping have enough money to cover all her expenses in her planned budget? If yes, how much money does she have left? That's worth 2 marks. So make sure you're putting in enough information to get those 2 marks. How much money does Ping want to save for her income each month if she wants to save 15% of her net income? So how would we solve that? Is, let's say her net income is $1,000. You would multiply it by 0.15, and that would equal how much she wants to save, because you have to turn that 15% into a decimal. So use this calculation to help you solve that question. But put in her actual amount, okay? So that's 1 mark there. Does Ping have enough to cover her actual expenses with her actual income for the month? 2 marks to explain why or why not. If Ping had not had the extra cost for car maintenance this month, would she have had enough money to cover all her actual expenses, and how? Once again, 2 marks, put in that detail. What expenses is Ping's budget are discretionary expenses? So make a list. So there's 5. Make sure you're making that list. So you should have 5 things. What can Ping do to adjust her spending to avoid a shortfall in covering her expenses for the month and meeting her saving goals? So there are 5 options to answer this question. I only want to see 3 of them. All right, so this is your assignment. Please make sure that you, once you are done, you upload it to Brightspace. If you have any questions or need help with the calculation portion, please reach out and I'm more than happy to help.